You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. You always thought that you were weak, but babe, you're wrong. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Think that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. And who cares if you might mess it up? You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Go ahead and shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine. You shouldn't doubt yourself, 'cause you're a work of art. You should know that you are perfect with those flaws. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Know that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. And who cares if you might mess it up? You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Go ahead and shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine, shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine. You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Shine. Go ahead and shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine, shine, darling. Go ahead and shine, my dear. 'Cause who cares if you might mess it up? Just shine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a turn of events where we put a positive spin on the future of your business. I'm Annette Naif, the CEO and creative director of Naif Productions. We are a strategic wedding and event production company, and we specialize corporate, social, nonprofit, and weddings. I also coach wedding and event planners on how to start their own business. Very exciting. I have a new masterclass, Dreams to Dollars, that is going to start next week. So you want to be sure to get in there. Put the word masterclass in the chat and we will send you all the information. I'm going to teach you how to build the foundation of your business. We're going to launch and we're going to do planning and launching. I'm going to show you my top ways to generate leads and your referral system and how to close your first client. You are not going to want to miss that. I'm very excited for also join me in my Facebook group, right? Event Planner Society Facebook group for wedding and event planners. Very good place to be. So we can all collaborate together. I do a lot of teaching in there. And so you'll get all the information for the masterclass as well. Again, put the word masterclass in the chat and we'll send you all the information. Okay. So my next guest is Bree Carroll. She is a military spouse, event strategist, and speaker. She transforms spaces and hearts through experience design and purposeful planning. With a background in civil engineering, Bree brings her brilliance of problem solving and strategic thinking to curate transformational experiences with her company, B Carroll Events. And I'm very excited for you to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to chat.
Of course, of course. And we're going to talk about making your business epic, which,
Yes,
we all need to do that, right?
absolutely.
I know. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about you? How did you get into this? How did you go from being an engineer to an event strategist?
Yes, Annette, thank you so much for asking. Really, this is what I would call, I started my retirement job early. So as a
Yeah.
child, my mom actually was a teacher full-time and a florist. And back then, if you can imagine, planners and that whole career field hadn't really developed, right? The florist did all the things, or the DJ at the time would do all the things as it related to helping couples and people coordinate things. So when I would go work alongside her, I was her little helping hands, right? And
Yeah.
I love to see how she would impact people through floral, how people could come together through events. So I kind of saved that as a child and was like, oh, this is great. I could do this like later on, and it'll always be like something that I wanted to go back to. So I
Right.
found myself doing civil engineering. That's where my degree was in. Worked for the Air Force for 11 years, and enjoyed project management. And I got to a point in the career where I felt overlooked for certain positions and promotions. And I was very curious about how I could just have an outlet to just do something creative, how I can make impact to people's lives. And that's when I had that thought of, well, you kind of do have that retirement job that you said you would circle back
Right.
to. And I really started, as many do in this field, with it being a hobby, something that I just did on the side. And when I got the opportunity, because my husband and I had worked really hard on getting our personal finances debt free, with the exception of a mortgage, I kind of looked over at Honey and said, hey, how do you feel about me doing this full time now that we kind of have the bandwidth to do so? So I set out to do that, had my start in weddings, and then I transitioned to B2B, where I mostly worked with coaches, speakers, and authors to bring about transformational events. So that's really where it started as a young child, helping mom, and then allowing the career within events to kind of take its own shape and form, and utilizing the experiences that I had from my government job and engineering, and applying that to a skill set and thought leaders, really, who wanted to have high level events that were thoughtful about the clients and the people that they served.
Yeah, I love that. So many great things in there. First of all, thank you for serving. That's amazing. You and your husband. I know your
Yes,
husband.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Debt free. We got to shout that out.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm all about that. I listen to a lot of the podcasts on stuff like that. So I love the finance stuff because, when you're running a business, you got to learn how to invest your money, save your money, do all these things with your money. So that's really, really important. And so the same thing happened to me when I started. I've been doing this for over 30 years, but when I started, I was always the girl in school that was the ones that was organizing all the parties
Yes.
and getting everybody on the buses and, all that stuff. And then when I was in my early 20s, I realized that, wow, I can make money doing this, right? So I started with Sebastian, the hair product company, and I worked for them, and we did events all over the world. And, but it was the same event,
Yes.
all over the world, same one. So, I could do it in my sleep. And then later on, so I've had my business for 14. How long have you had your business now?
So a total of seven years.
Okay, great. Congratulations. Because I feel like when you get kind of to that point is when things are kind of starting to like run, and you can it's not like this big roller coaster. It's always a roller.
Always.
It's
Yes.
always a roller coaster, but it's not that big roller coaster that you are, trying to figure everything out. So
Yes.
when I first started 14 years ago, I had absolutely no idea how to run the business, pricing, the foundation of the business. How do I talk to the clients? What should my forms look like? Like all the questions that all of my students ask all along the way, which is why I'm doing this masterclass. So, yeah. And so I too was like, I can make money doing this and what I love to do. So it's really a scary place to go from, a 9 to 5, change your life.
Yeah.
But if you have the right help and you get yourself surrounded by the right people, it's really mindset. A lot of it is mindset and the motivation to just keep going. You just can't give up. You just got to keep going and not give up. So great stuff. So I want to talk about this strategy piece, right?
Yes.
So we are the same way. So while we do weddings, we do some weddings, but we are a strategic event company and where we help people make money from their events, right? So why do you think more businesses need to leverage events to hit their goals?
Yeah, I think a lot of people who think just business, they miss opportunities to truly engage people. And if you ask just people casually and business owners and corporations, like talk about some of your favorite memories. They can be like, oh, I remember this time, or I was at this thing, or this song was playing, or we ate this thing. Like there are all these tangible elements that make up an event that they will key into, and they miss the opportunity to bring people in where they have the opportunity to create an environment that can create brand loyalty, that can create return on investment, or launch a new product, or just go a little deeper with the brand and invite people into it, or even share some of the values that the brand has. Like I know a lot of corporations and things, they lean into like whatever giving avenues, or they showcase the diversity of their company in a lot of different ways. And events have the opportunity to do this. Another big reason why I feel like events are something that more businesses need to think about, especially my small businesses, the conversion rates that happen in the room. So oftentimes you'll look at different marketing strategies. Like, yes, you can sell via email campaigns. Yes, you can sell via ads. But one of the things that I find that are really special is the conversion rates that happen within the room. And it is amazing to see 30 to 50%. And if you're really good at sales, even higher percentages of conversion rates that happen in the room. It's a huge opportunity when it comes to sales, especially for those who I've been working with that have like coaching programs, product-based businesses as well. Because again, most of the time these people are coming in the room, they have a need, you're speaking their language, and now they're ready for you to tell them what's the next step, right? Card in hand, cash in hand, what is my next step? And those conversion rates infused with like the energy that's happening in the room gives you the opportunity to have those higher conversion rates. So that is a really big reason why I always like to encourage businesses to think about incorporating events and leveraging events as they think about their overall marketing and sales strategy.
I love that. And we also do a lot of events around with coaches. People who are, they have a program and they do a 2 or 3 day event. Generally, get them in people in the room for 3 days. You saturate them with so much information and give them lots of great, content, and then sell your coaching program. It's a huge, you can just make hundreds of thousands of dollars doing that. Yes, it costs money to do the event, but you're going to get a higher rate of people, especially now with people wanting to get back in the room with other people, right? Like, I have a digital course. I have not done a live event myself for my stuff because I'm so busy doing everybody else's. But it's so crazy that I don't do it. And I would love to, but eventually someday I may, and I know how to do it. So obviously, but it's such and I really love that whole dynamic where you're learning all kinds of things, but then you sell your coaching program to these people in that room. And then it could be like a 3 month, 6 month, 1 year, there's all kinds of different programs, but we you and I have that strategy around
Yes.
how to set that room up so people will buy, right?
Yes.
There is a strategy. You can't just go there. There are certain times of each day that you need to give your content. What do you do after you have
Yes.
that last night, the night before the last day, you've now made your offer. What do you do the next day? Those type of things. So these are
Yes.
really, really, there is a strategy behind all of that.
Yes, it is.
We and I love to do that, and I probably should start marketing more about that, because
Yes.
I don't market a lot
Absolutely.
about that. I do that, so I probably should start doing that. You're giving me inspirations here.
I love it. I love it.
I know. Okay, so what does epic mean to you?
Yeah, so EPIC is an acronym that I actually came up with as it relates to how we serve for events. And for us, EPIC means experiences with purpose, impact, and community. For us, that is the secret sauce of making your event truly transformational. And just to kind of walk people through that, when I say experiences, the easiest way for me to get people to dial in of like, what's the difference between like an event and experience is really being intentional. And for us, it's incorporating the five senses and thinking through how you'll incorporate the five senses, the sights, the smells, the touches, the tastes. How do we create an atmosphere that aligns with the brand, aligns with the person, and where we're trying to take them, right? Especially if we have a call to action that's coming at the end. Impact. A lot of people are done with the days of like, I'm just going to things just to go to things, right?
Yeah.
It has to be impactful. It has to be meaningful. And they want to have some type of tangible change or something that happens. So being really keyed in and dialed into what the impact is that your event is going to be making is really huge. So that's experience. Purpose, let me not skip over that. Purpose is a buzzword these days, right? Everybody is trying to walk in their purpose, fulfill this purpose.
Yeah.
And it's really important even for brands to kind of think about, what are our goals? What is the purpose that we are trying to fulfill through this event, right? That ties into your objectives, that and the reason, your why, even, right? So that purpose is really clear, and ensuring that the people who are coming to your event knows what purpose is. That's really big too. So that's experience, that's purpose, that's impact, and community. Let me tell you, people are looking to connect. I don't know if it is just because of the pandemic, but really more so than ever, we are realizing like we are not islands. We're not to be like lone rangers out here. We need people. We want to connect. We want to grow our network. It's a lot fun when you get to go with friends, right?
Yeah.
So building community within your event, giving people opportunities to engage and connect and meet and carry on relationships even outside of the four walls of your event is really huge. And so for me, that ends up being our roadmap for how we're able to just up level an event. It's with experiences, purpose, impact, and community. And then to take it even a step further for those who are listening, it's something that we're really dialing into and speaking of it from a, how can I live my life that way too? What experiences can I lean into? And I love that you talked about having that masterclass and having programs like, maybe that's an experience that I need to opt into, right? To grow myself as a professional in this industry, right? What are other experiences? What other rooms do I need to get into to grow personally and professionally? And then dialing in for yourself, what purpose, what impact, what community, and assessing these areas in your life so that you can have a fulfilled, not just business, but a fulfilled life.
I love that. That's so true. I 100% agree with you. I think even through all my events, whether it's, weddings, nonprofits, corporate, all of that, everybody wants to have an experience at an activity that they're going to be doing. They want to be engaging, doing things at events, not just going and watching someone on a stage or just dancing at it. They an experience, which is very, very, very important now. It's kind of changed a lot. And I think a lot of that has to do with, being locked down for a couple of years. So that would make everybody crazy. But I love all that. And community, I cannot stress enough how important it is to get involved with other planners, get involved in, associations and going to events where we are at, and collaborating with other people. I collaborate with a
Yes.
lot of other planners. I hire a lot of people to help me in my events that have their own businesses. I have a lot of people that work with me when I need help. I could not have done my business and been where I'm at today without the collaboration and the support from other planners in this industry.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that changed when during COVID, it was very big, right? We were all pulling together, and now everybody's
Yes.
gotten busy and we kind of can't, stay in touch as much as we used to. But it was a really wonderful thing to see, which is when I started the show, actually, because we were all trying to figure out, what do we
What
do?
do we do? Yes.
Bring everybody on and let's talk about what we're doing and what's everybody doing to try to keep their businesses going.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, there were a lot of people who did close down their businesses. But community is everything. And I can't stress that enough. And it's really, when you first start your business, I mean, I don't know where you are with this yourself, but I'm 14 years in and I don't network as much as I used to. When I started, I networked like crazy. Like I went to everything. And then of course that slowed down after COVID because we couldn't do anything. And then just my lifestyle is a little different now because I travel a lot more. So it's hard for me. I do try to do Zooms and meet people. And I am in a mastermind. I'm in a big coaching program.
Well, yeah, see, there you go.
I'm all about education.
Yes.
Myself being in this industry for so long, I'm still need to learn. I want to see, how can I upgrade my systems? What are people doing in the industry? Then I can take that stuff and teach it to the people that I'm coaching.
Correct.
So I always want to learn that. And I think it's really, really important. So I love this whole epic thing that you have with the businesses. So how long did it take you to build an epic business?
I would say I'm still building an epic
I feel
business
like
because
it's never ending.
it's
right?
never ending. And I love that you shared even your growth and how each season has looked different for you over the 14 years, because when you first started, you had different desires and hopes and objectives for your business than I'm sure you do now. Like your vision has been expanded, right? So with that, there's a constant evolution that happens with us, and even in the industry where people are looking at what is true for me in this season. Like, what direction do I want to go and what direction do I want to take my business in? And for me, I just kind of give myself the grace and the space to say, you know what? I started off really doing whatever people would pay me for, right? Right. Most people do. That's what started. And then I niched down into weddings, and I really found a passion for that. And I love that. And then the pandemic, that's where the shift happened for me, where a lot of my peers who I was in personal development groups and masterminds and things, they were like, hey, can you help me do this business where I want to sell this program? And that's when I stopped doing the weddings and I shifted to B2B. So I would say for anybody who's listening, like, you are the driver, right? Thinking about your team and what is best for them. But if you have a vision, you have to be true to yourself in whatever season you are. And that may look like raising your prices so that you have fewer clientele, right?
Exactly.
Maybe as opposed to being in all of these different places, or you may be more agency modeled where you're like, okay, I can bring in more team members and we can keep the volume, right? But it's a less impact for me. I think it's to each his own, right? There isn't just one shoe that fits, or, we'd all look like cookie cutter. And that's not the goal.
No.
We want to be unique. We want to be a right fit for the people who are coming to us. So I would just say for anyone who's trying to figure out, like, okay, how do I make my business epic? It's just tapping into that experience, purpose, impact, community. What does that look like for you? What do you need for this season? What does your team need that to look like in this season? And just following that and being true to who you are.
Yeah. And in your personal life as well.
Yes.
Right. It's the same thing in your personal life. And you talked about raising your prices and all of that. So it just, I teach the basics, right? Like the getting started, how do I price, and boom. So I teach all of that. So, but if everyone is saying yes so quickly to all of your, you got all these clients coming in, and they will come in,
a red flag,
marketing and you're visible, they're going to come in. You're networking, you're talking to everybody. You got to tell everybody about what you're doing. that's when you raise your prices. It's
Yes.
scary to do that, but it's really important. And I've gotten to the point now after all these years, I'm getting up to my retirement years because it's been a long time.
Yes.
I don't want to do 30 events a year. I want
Exactly.
to do, 5 or 6, maybe 8. I don't want to do a
Mhm.
whole bunch of events. That's why the coaching program's out there, and I'm trying to like build that. And then that's a whole
Yes.
other business in itself, right?
And
So
that's beautiful because it's needed. And I think for anybody, like, y'all, let's lean in for a second. Like, when we have the opportunity to learn from someone who's been there
yeah,
and done that and has seen the evolution of the industry and kind of can look ahead, like, that is so valuable. And I can remember starting off, that's what I had to lean on. I invested in the programs, invested in the coaching because it really helped set myself up for success. Sure, did I still like bump my head and make some mistakes
you're
around the
gonna,
way?
yeah,
Yes, you're going to, but it's so much different when you can have somebody to come back to, when you have built
so
in this community for yourself, for your business. It makes a huge difference how you show up
yeah.
in your business and how you're able to kind of walk this thing out, knowing that you have the insight from someone who's been there and done that.
Well, what it changes is your confidence. And
Yes,
confidence
100%.
is everything. If you
100%.
get on a call with a client and you're like, well, I have this thing and it's fine.
No.
They're gonna go, okay, this girl can't run my events, right? So you have to
Exactly.
be confident in what your abilities, what your services are, what your pricing is, all of that. And so when
Yes.
you are learning, the same thing happened with me. I finally found someone to coach me a little bit when I first started. I was in tears. Like the first year, I would, go to these very high end planners because that's where I was going. I mean, I
Yeah.
had experience 20 some years already doing events. I just needed to learn how to put the business together, right?
Exactly.
And so they
Two
would,
different things, guys. Can
they're
you
two
please
different
let's
things.
note what she just said. Those are two different things. You can be great
Yeah.
as a planner, but knowing the business side, listen, that's
And you
that's
can get
something
in a
else.
lot of trouble. You can get in
Yes.
a lot of trouble financially. And that's the thing. You don't have to have a lot of money to start your business. I want
Yes.
you to be smart about it, which is what we teach. But it's scary if you don't know what to do and set the business up right. You can financially, it can be a disaster. So
Yes.
we want to, help people so they don't do that. But I couldn't find anybody to help me. And
Yeah.
so I finally found someone, and I've always had a coach since then. Like
Mm.
the money that I always spend, and it always felt big. It always did. Like if I was like, oh gosh, I got a 500 a month. I don't know if I can do that. And right. That
Yeah.
was cheap back then. Now I pay a lot more than that. But,
Yes.
but it, you level up as you start to grow.
Yeah.
Every penny that I have spent, it's been worth everything
Yeah.
for
Because
my
you've grown every time.
exactly. And I may not have gotten exactly what I thought I was going in for to get, but I
Mhm.
got a lot of good things. And so you
Yes.
want to look at that. Community is always the best, right? So
Yes.
I've always gotten some great community from my coaching programs that I've gone into. So
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, so what strategies of mindset, and I am all about mindset. Mindset's crazy here. So what strategies or mindset shifts have you found most effective in transforming businesses to epic ones?
Yeah. So I think the biggest mindset shift is people limit themselves. Like, they always can't see the possibility that is there for themselves and
Mhm.
often for their businesses. And I think until we can sit in a place and we can like actually lean in and say, I might be insecure in this area. Like you talked about the planner who may be just starting off and they're kind of whispering and they're fidgeting their paper and they're not sure. That's a confidence thing. But why is that confident? Where is that disconnect coming from? Is it truly because you just don't have the reps in and the practice doing it? Well, that's something you could plan on doing with calls with your biz bestie, right? You can practice that, but is there something deeper there? Do you have a limiting belief that's blocking you from asking people for the sale? Like you're having every other conversation, but you're just not getting straight to the point and asking, are you ready to commit? Can you sign this document by X date? And I think it's when you can start uncovering these mindset shifts, that's when you'll start to show up more confidently in your business. That's when you'll start to be more intentional about making your business an epic one, because you'll start thinking about like, hey, I have this limiting belief in this area. What experience do I maybe need to have to fill that gap? Or maybe it's purpose. Do I feel like I'm doing purpose work? For me, weddings for a season felt very purposeful. And then I was like, what's happened? Like, I don't feel like this is where I'm supposed to be anymore. I want to make a different kind of impact. And I think as you're able to continue to assess that, and you can go back to like, what are my limiting beliefs around shifting my business in this way? What are my limiting beliefs around getting a coach in this area? What are my limiting beliefs about bringing on a team member to do the thing that I know I don't want to do anyway? Like, what is keeping me from doing these things? And it's when you're able to address the mindset that is happening behind the action that is or isn't happening, that's when you're truly able to step into an epic business.
I love that. That's so amazing. In one of my previous coaching sessions with one of my students, fear came up, right?
Yes.
So, and I didn't know this because she doesn't come across like that at all, right? She's full 100% in. She's doing all the homework. She's putting her business together. She's excited about it. And then one of our sessions came up and she said, I'm really scared. I'm having all this fear. And so I said, okay, let's stop learning the basics here. Let's stop talking about and let's just talk about that. So
that's good coaching right there.
Everybody is going to have that. I still have that after all the years. Every change I make, every person I hire, every person I get rid of, like that doesn't fit anymore or moves on. And there's always fears of all kinds of things that are going to happen. It's part of having a business, but having that support is really, really important. And you just got to keep going. I learned that the way I got through the fears is to get on the other side of it, just fight through. Like, for example, being on video. A lot and are afraid to be on video. And I started the show and I was like, oh my God, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I didn't do it by myself at first because I didn't know if I was going to say the right things, or you're going to look funny, or someone going to judge you, all that stuff that comes along. And so I thought, well, I can interview because I can talk to anybody. So I started that way, and that's how I got comfortable. And I remember, even the first few months of doing it, I was so nervous. Hours before I would start, I was so nervous. But then now it's like I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Just like, you know what? You just got to get out there and be yourself, be authentic. And, people are going to love that more than anything. And if you're going to flub up, you flub up. I flub up all the time in my intros, I'm like, oh, wait, I forgot to tell you.
Yes. And you keep rolling and you just keep going.
You listen, it doesn't matter. We're not on, national TV here. So it really doesn't matter, but you do want to be authentic, and you are going to have the fear. You're going to have the fear. You're going to have the fear all along your business.
Absolutely.
And you just got to fight through it and keep going and not give up. That's the biggest thing, is not give up. Right.
Exactly.
Okay. So can you share a challenge faced when transitioning to an epic business and how you overcame it?
A challenge that is faced. I always like to say we always get in our own ways. Like 9 times out of 10, when you're transitioning or you're trying to up level your business, you tend to get in your own way. I know I was the bottleneck for myself in a lot of different ways. As a planner, I always, or at one point in time, I would always just like, oh yeah, I know what to do. It's up here. And it's like, friend, that's not a process that other people can follow, that other people can do. Are you laying out your systems? Are you documenting your processes? Oftentimes we can get in our own way and we can be the bottleneck in our businesses. And sometimes it takes having a coach or someone else to reflect back to us to say, you know what, you're great and you can do this better. Like, get out of your own way so that you can do it better. So I often times the first thing that comes to mind is us getting in our own ways, and then figuring out or having someone tell us to get out of our own ways. It really will help you grow, and it'll help you to see even more potential in your business.
Are you an all-in type of entrepreneur?
I like to say that I am, but honestly, I feel like in this season, family really means a lot to me. Like there's one thing in this season that I've really noted, and it's like I love what I get to do, but not at the expense of why I do it. And I
Yes.
think that is the distinction that I have in this season, which is why what my business looks like 5 years from now, 2 years from now will be very different than how it looked a year ago. And
Yeah.
it's because I have that conviction of like, I do this business so that I can be there for my kids' recitals and fun things, right? I do this so that I can go on vacation. And I think oftentimes we get bottlenecked in just focusing on the business and making the business be the fulfilling thing, that
Right.
we disconnect from the fact that there's a whole reality happening
Yes.
outside of our business.
Yes.
So I think as much as I'd like to say I'm an all-in entrepreneur, I also feel like I'm more so all into the vision and the commitment that I have to my family more than any business.
Yeah. And that's, you need to understand that about yourself, right?
Yeah,
I think that's important as well. And I was like weekends, I was working like crazy, when I first started. And you work a
you do
lot
at
when you
first.
first start,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but now I have the ability. And what's great is I can, I'm half the year in Florida and half the year in New York. So
Nice.
I've gotten that lifestyle now, which is really, really special. And you can always jump on a plane anywhere. My team is all over the country, so it doesn't really
Exactly.
matter. We're not in a I do miss having an office where we're all together.
Mm,
I do have colleagues that do that and have that, and I kind of miss
yes.
that. But they wish they had half the year
Oh
somewhere
yeah.
and half the year the other, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, fortunately, you kind of can't have it all, it seems like, but I try to. So what are your tips on boundaries? I think this is like such a big thing especially when someone's starting a business, but also, you're in the business and you kind of forget sometimes. So
Yeah.
boundaries, how do you feel about that?
So first, let's talk about the B word of
Yeah.
boundaries. I think oftentimes people think boundaries are just for other people, and that's a complete misconception. Boundaries are for you, and they're to protect you and your team. And what the reason why I want to slow down and talk about that is because oftentimes you may have a boundary, for example, is even your office hours. When can people call and contact you? Yep, it's on your website. Yes, it might be in your email signature. But if you are not the person upholding that boundary, if you are
Yep.
still answering that phone, if you're still responding to emails, even outside of that time, you are now training people to push that boundary and you're not holding your own line. You have to set the boundary and you have to enforce the boundary. And I think oftentimes we just expect other people to know our boundaries that we haven't communicated,
Yeah.
or to just adhere to a boundary that we ourselves are not following. So it's very important. I mean, your office hours are like, that's the easiest form of boundaries. But what about how people communicate to you, right? Because I've had a couple of clients that they were in their emotions and they thought wrong that they could just talk and communicate anyway just because they were in an emotional state.
Right.
Unfortunately, you're unable to talk to me that way, and I have to hold the boundary of professionalism in a time frame and ask them to call when they're able to communicate more effectively and in a respectful manner. So I
That's
think that's just two examples of boundaries that you may have to set, but also think about personal boundaries that you might need to have to kind of protect you. And like I said, your family time, right? I have littles right now, and they're 9, 7, and 5.
oh boy.
And oftentimes they'll see me on my phone or on my computer. Like they started imitating, like, oh, mommy's on a meeting. She's always on a meeting. She's always on a call. And I had to think about that and say, hey, how do I create a boundary here where I can really separate time to
Right.
where when I'm in office and I'm working with clients and I'm having my meetings, I can be present for that. But when they're here and they're around, I can be present for them. And that's an important boundary. And everybody kind of has to figure out what that looks like.
Right.
It
Right.
looks different in every season because there have been seasons where like I get great work done real early in the morning and real late at night because if they're present like on their summers off and they're not in school or what have you.
Yeah.
But like it looks different in each season. So I think it's
Right.
giving yourself grace and the space to set a boundary, to enforce the boundary, but also use the wisdom to know when you might need a new boundary, or that boundary might need to shift a little bit.
Yep. And I'm always hesitant about the text messaging because when
Yes.
we're on site, you can text message me all day, all night,
Mhm.
day, because you've got me, you've paid for me, you were on site. But during the planning process, and I will, because you always want to make sure that you're documenting everything,
Yes.
So you got to make sure that you're putting it in an email. And so I always say, if they text me,
Yes.
I say, I'm going to move this to email. So, I
That's
can
huge.
flag it, because if someone asks me to do something in a text message, it gets lost.
It
I
does.
flag all the stuff that I need to do or send to
Mhm.
my team or whatever I need to do. But the big things about boundaries too is making sure that you have boundaries with your team, because
Yes.
and that's like I'm learning that recently, that I've had to teach my team a little bit about some things, like things that I just want to make sure that we are top notch in the business. But that's on me because I haven't communicated it, or so
Yeah.
if I see it, I just nip it in the bud. They change it, they're great, they move on, and
Mhm.
just want to make sure that you have those boundaries for your team. It's a little harder when you have a team that is not employees.
Present, which, oh yeah, or yeah,
Present
it's a
and employees.
1099. Yeah.
Because you don't
Different.
really have like 100% say on availability and things like that. So it's a little trickier, but we learn to work through it. It's respect, they're going to
Yes.
respect. And if they're not going to respect it, then they can't be
Right.
a
And
part of
lean on your contract and your agreements. I would say that for anyone too.
Yes.
That is your document that kind of should outline a lot of those boundaries and a lot of the
Yeah.
what we can and cannot do, and enforcing those contracts and those agreements,
Yeah.
having that clear language. I love that gem that you put there, that I just want to foot stomp one more time. Did you hear her say put it in an email? Please. Everything needs to be in black and white. You need to be able to refer back to it. A phone call does not suffice. A text message, it gets lost. It has to be documented black and white in an email. And that's a great way to circle back and also to enforce the boundary too.
No, for sure. So what's your biggest business accomplishment?
Ooh, biggest business accomplishment. I think for me, it was when I was starting to hire my team as W-2 employees. That meant a lot to me, just because I think starting out, maybe being a solopreneur is something that people are just like, yep, I'm confident, I'm happy in this one lane right now, and that's all how we start out, right? Um, but I think there's something special to be said about having people rely on you
Yeah.
and have buy into what you're doing.
Yes.
And it's just because I'm just a people person, right? I care about having people bought
You need
in.
to be as a planner, by the way.
Yeah,
You're not, that's
absolutely,
the problem.
absolutely. But I
Yeah.
think that was, I mean, I could say we did beautiful events or the international events and all the things. That's nice. And I
Yeah.
think what moves my heart more than anything was to be able to, and I'm thinking of a particular individual who wouldn't have been able to get employment in another type of space based off of their personal situation, but they are extremely skilled and they are really great at what they do. And it was just such a blessing for me to be able to be like, yes, like
Yeah.
you can join the team, and I can help support your family in this way. That means more to
Yeah.
me than any Instagrammable picture, any
Yeah.
exclusive events, like
Yeah.
working with
I'm
any
I'm
person.
always every day I'm always proud of my team, because I
Yeah.
have a lot of people who help me, because I have the business, the events,
Yes.
and then I have the coaching program, which
Yes.
is I think that's
Whole different.
bigger than my event team. And it's they're so amazing. Christy,
Yeah.
who's on here, and she's helping in the chat. She's been with me a long time now.
We love you, Christy.
I know, I love her. I love them, all of them. I am, nothing without them.
Yeah.
So I love my team, and I think they're super important, and they're like they're everything. And so I'm always so excited when I'm on a team meeting and there are 6 of them going, and I'm just sitting there watching all of this happen. It's such a proud moment to be able to have that. But again, it's a lot that you have to manage, right? Because you got to manage all those people. So that in itself is
people and payroll and
it's
taxes and yes.
I
But
know.
for anybody who's listening, who you're like, ooh, that seems very far off for me.
Yeah.
I would just emphasize support is something that you need. And I love that you talked about like people may see just you, but it's not just you, right? And I think that's really important for anyone who's just starting off and as you continue to progress throughout your career, get support, whether that is a 1099 person, whether it's just
a VA.
Yes, exactly.
Assistant is
get
what
support.
I did when I first started, who worked part-time, few hours. I think I paid like a couple $100 a month, but it was worth everything. Because in the beginning, you can do it yourself. You don't have a lot of clients, right? You have that one client, you're working hard, you can plan it yourself. But you always need somebody on site with you. Always. You should never do an event by yourself on site because you need the help.
Yes.
Even if they have volunteers, even if they have a team, you need someone that's part of your team and that's been in the grind of pulling it together. But yes, it's really important. So we're coming down here to the hour. I could talk to you forever. We do this lightning round. So I want to ask you a few questions. Okay. So who is someone who is inspiring you at the moment and why?
Who is someone who is inspiring me? I think, and I know I talked about her earlier, but I think my mom is really inspiring me in this season. And I think it's just because as you grow and you mature, you get a different glimpse of people and a different perception of people throughout life. Like she's always been an amazing person to me, but I think just seeing her level of strength and commitment to our family, how she walks out things like with poise and grace, I'm just kind of leaning in more like, I need to pay more attention to you. Mom, you got it going on over here. And she's just really inspiring me in this season. Yeah.
That's so nice. She's going to shed a tear over that one. What's the biggest advice you've ever received?
The biggest advice.
The best advice.
The best advice. I would say the best advice that I received was someone was affirming me and saying everything that I needed was already within me. And I think oftentimes we can face imposter syndrome. We can doubt. We can make up stories of why we can't do something or what we need. Like we need these other things to be better. And the reality is when we sit quietly and we really do some introspection, we can see like everything that we need is already within us.
I love that. I love that. What are you most looking forward to this year?
I think I'm most looking forward to vacation.
There you go.
I'm looking forward to vacation.
That's good.
I think like a lot of us in this industry, I have a healthy appetite for work. I love to be busy and doing things. And in this season, I'm starting to embrace not doing things and creating space and time to make memories and have some fun. So the month of June, I think I'll be off all of June, that's
amazing.
Which is like, but we have some fun trips. I did that
last year. I've taken vacations, but I took a long one and didn't check in. So I set my team up. I said, I'm going unless it's like a major emergency. I had a couple things I needed to, text on, but I was in Italy and I'm going back again this year for a couple weeks with a bunch of people, friends. We're going to go. So and there's an event that I usually do during this time every year, and I'm not going to do it this year because it was the time everybody could go. It's an experience I need to be a part of, and so we're going to take a couple weeks in September, and
I love that.
So it's a little slower this year. I think a lot of people.
It is.
It is. I think a lot of our colleagues are probably feeling that too. It's a little bit slower, but I'm embracing that. I'm not going to get crazy about it. Everything happens. Things come in, we're always getting stuff coming in, luckily, but I feel like things happen for a reason. So
exactly.
So
take advantage of the space. If anybody else is feeling
it,
take advantage.
Enjoy the piece of it. So what's your favorite tool that you use in your business?
My favorite tool, I would say probably Google Suite system is my favorite tool. I could rattle off a lot because your girl has we like to invest in systems and technology back here. I
Yes.
think my secondary one would probably be like Timeline Genius because I love them. I love that software. And there's several others that I could name,
Yeah.
but I won't.
Yeah,
We'll just stick with Google because really, I think especially thinking about people who are just starting off between that Google suite, having the professional email, being able to use the Google Sheets, utilizing their presentation mode and things. If you're not dabbling in Canva and all this other, like they have a whole back end and their filing systems and things that if you learn how to use that effectively, you could go really far without having to invest in other programs and systems. So I would say that would be my go-to.
Yeah, we use it too. I don't go into it too much as far as like using, like I have other things that I do, but
Right, right.
I love it. It's got my email system on, like all my
Exactly.
emails, and it's actually really good, really good.
Yeah.
So speaking of, starting out, what is one piece of advice you'd give to wedding or event planners who are just starting out?
I would say focus on making money first. And creating a track record for yourself. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made starting out was I cared very much so, probably disproportionately, about looking the part. I needed to have my branding, and then I had to have the website, and I had to have this. Like it
Yep.
had to look a certain way. And then my husband would be like, I mean, do you have clients yet though? Like you
Yeah.
have all of the things,
Are you
but
making any money
but
yet?
are you making any money? And I kick myself for that. But it's something that I want to share because the reality is years later, I realized that there were other people who didn't have websites, who didn't have the beautiful branding, who didn't have all these other things, but they had been working, they had been creating clientele, they'd been failing fast and learning the lessons and shoring up their systems. And that was where the value was. It wasn't in looking the part. It was really in, am I being profitable? Am I refining my skills? Am I up leveling and learning as I go?
Right.
And that's really the key thing.
Yes, yes. I say that all the time to my students. I said, don't get so wrapped up in your website, even like the name of your business, to be honest. Like we do talk about it. We do go into some ideas. But I've changed my name 5 times.
Exactly. Same. That's why I'm like, it doesn't matter.
It's NAIF Productions. It's always NAIF Productions. I have now a wedding division, NAIF Weddings, but it's always that. But I started out not knowing, and I picked the silly names. But nobody cares what the name of your business is, right?
No.
So you could be Mickey Mouse Events and nobody cares. And so I don't like them to get so wrapped up. That's great advice. The one thing that I would say is get help, get coaching. Like that's just a really big piece. Even though I coach, I'm not saying it for that reason. I'm saying it because it's such a huge help to have someone like we talked about earlier to hold your hand through the process so you don't make costly mistakes.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
That is, you don't want to make costly mistakes because obviously we want to make money, right?
Yes.
So that's really important. I love having you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're so awesome. We could talk forever. And so tell everybody how they can find you.
Yeah. So my favorite place to hang out is typically Instagram. You can find us at B Carroll Events on Instagram. If you've heard me here, slide in our DMs, say hello. I'm going to encourage you to invest in coaching and getting the support that you need for your business. But if you wanted to chat a little bit more about kind of what we do and the journey that we've had, I'd be happy to share with you there too.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And we put Bree's information in the chat as well. And again, don't forget to, if you're looking to get into the program and check it out, put masterclass in the chat and we'll send you all the information. Get over to our Facebook group, Event Planner Society, where there's lots of planners over there doing the same thing, doing the grind. So we hope to see you there. Thank you so much for joining. We'll talk to you soon.
See you.
Okay. Thank you, Bree, hon.